Hi everybody, I'm Benjamin Anthony, co-founder of the MirYam Institute, and I've just concluded an interview with perhaps the most exceptional individual I've ever had the privilege of sitting down with. Her name is Iris Haim. She's the mother of Yotam Haim. Yotam was kidnapped on October 7th during the bloody rampage of Hamas into southern Israel. On Friday, December 15th, after weeks and months spent in captivity, Yotam emerged, and tragically he was fired upon and killed by soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. Between those two dates, October the 7th and December the 15th, Iris Haim became a tireless campaigner about the plight not only of her son Yotam, but of all of the hostages held inside the Gaza Strip beneath Hamas captivity. She traveled to parliaments abroad, she spoke to audiences throughout the international community, and here domestically, she spread a message of love, of solidarity, of resilience, and of support for the soldiers of Israel and the government of Israel as they fought back against this dreadful threat emanating from the Gaza Strip. On Friday, December the 15th, after hearing about the fact that her son had been killed by way of the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces, Iris sent a voice note to those soldiers. She told them that she loved them, that she supported them, that she encouraged them to continue in their fight, and that they must not hesitate to combat the threats that they face there in the war zone. She also spoke on media outlet after media outlet about the importance of continuing to support our soldiers as they battle back against this evil emanating from our southern enclave over there in the Gaza Strip. In the house that you can see behind me, I asked Iris where she drew her strength from, where she draws her sense of urgency to bring about a message of support and of hope and of unity here in the States of Israel. And I also asked her what it is that sustains her and what it was about Yotam that marked him out as such a unique individual from a very young age until the time of his death on December 15th, 2023. I think it's a fascinating interview. I encourage all of you to watch it and to share it with your entire community and to learn the lessons that Iris Haim imparts during my conversation with her.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Iris Haim, thank you so very much for giving me the time to sit with you today and to talk to you today and to learn from you today. I was mentioning to you off camera that this is an interview that I have not prepared for. And the reason I have not prepared for it is because I don't believe there's anything in the media or anywhere else that I can learn that will supplant or supersede anything you're able to teach me here today. But I am here to listen, and I am here to give you the platform so that people can hear what's become invaluable to us here in Israel, which is your message to our people. But I'd like to first begin by asking you to start in a different place. I'd like you to tell me a little bit about where you come from, what your upbringing is, where you were born and raised in Israel.
I born in Haifa. I just talked today to somebody that asked me, where did all your opinions now, or what you think, where it came from? From the home, from your parents? And I told him that I was born in a very non-religious house, more epicurus, such, nothing was connected to the religious. We didn't go to the synagogue, we didn't keep the Shabbat, nothing. And I am the first child. I have one brother. I left home when I was 16. I think I knew that this home is not so good for me. And I left and lived alone with a group of children. We were 20 children in a kibbutz in the Golan Heights. It was like a part of a youth group plan that for young kibbutz kibbutzes that were young and there were not enough children there. So we came there in 1982. It was just the beginning of the מלחמת שלום הגליל.
The first Lebanon war.
Yes, first Lebanon war. But I was a child. I didn't understand about that nothing. And since then, I was like raising myself, a very independent person, and always like standing on my thoughts and.
And what was the name of that kibbutz?
En Zivan.
And so you went there, and you're there during a time of war, raising yourself. And then did you go on to serve in the military? What did you do in the military?
Yeah, I was
Israel?
1 year in the military, but not such a nice or highlights. Nothing important. I was in the military, but just not something.
And then you chose this career. You're a nurse. This is something that I learned from sitting with you. I'll talk about that in a moment. But you chose to become a nurse, and a nurse specifically in palliative care. What made you decide on that career path? And was that the immediate career path, or did you come to that more gradually?
Yes, I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
But it was like in Israel it's very difficult to come inside this course, and I didn't want to invest a lot in that, so I went to be a nurse and learned to be a nurse, but it took maybe 20 years after that I just started to be a palliative care nurse. It was not in the beginning. In the first 10 years I was working in the kibbutz. After I was in the Golan Heights, I left there and I met my husband, and I went to live in the Negev, the kibbutz Gvulot. That's where my children born.
Right.
And then I learned in Be'er Sheva to be a nurse. And in the first 10 years, I worked in the kibbutz as a kibbutz nurse, which taught me a lot of things, a lot. And then I started to change, and I worked with some places. I was working with old people and wound healing. I am specialist in wound healing and in geriatric nursing. And it's 2011, I started to work in the hospice. And then I started to learn this part of palliative care nurse. And I really loved it. Really loved it.
What did you love about it? Because to people who don't practice it seems so tragic. It seems so laden in loss and bereavement and everything. What was it there that you loved in palliative care?
First of all, the fact that I can bring a really, how can I say that, משמעותי, meaningful effect to this time of separation, that the person needs to separate from his family, and the family needs to separate from the person they love. And I found that as a person, different than other things that I did as a nurse, I can bring myself, not just the nurse, but also me.
Your own personality.
Yes, my own personality. Because it's not just a technique thing, it's a lot of spirit and listening and being and looking and time, and you have time. When I'm in a house of a family, I can be there 2 hours, 3 hours with them. It's not like in the Kupat Cholim, in the clinic, that 10 minutes and you need to go. It's very personally, and I loved that kind of work, that I'm very personal attached to to my patient.
Mm-hmm. Did it ever feel too heavy for you? Did it ever feel like it was too much of a responsibility, too much of a burden, or were you always able to cope with the challenge?
Yeah, I was 99% of the time I was able. There were few times that something went wrong and the family didn't understand and didn't they wouldn't receive the becoming end.
Mm-hmm.
This was a little bit difficult, but not a lot. But I think it's taught me also about different behaviors in such a hard time, that you can be very angry, mm-hmm. people can be very demanding and blaming, and like I said, very angry about the situation, and some of them can be very, it's okay, like getting it and peaceful with that. Mm-hmm. And I saw different attitudes.
Did you learn that from, you said that when you were a nurse in the kibbutz, you learned an awful lot about everything from being a nurse. Was that skill set something you learned in the kibbutz? What were some of the things you learned as a nurse in the kibbutz?
In the kibbutz, I learned mostly physical examination, things like the doctor, because in kibbutz, 30 years ago, the doctor was not there every day. Mm-hmm. The doctor came just once or twice a week, so the nurse, we did the doctor's work. But also I was like a social worker there, and like a psychologic and dietitian. Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of things, but this part I never saw in the kibbutz in the 10 years. It just came after.
It was just a calling for you, really?
I think so, yes. Mm-hmm. It was like in an accident happened. Right. Somebody called me, my friend, she was a manager in this organization of the hospice, it's a home hospice. Mm-hmm. And she asked me if I can work with the doctor near my house. In one of the women, she was 40 years old. She had a very, the end stage cancer. And I said, but I don't know nothing. She said, don't worry, the doctor will teach you. And then after a few weeks, I was like, already know, and she asked me, maybe you want another patient? And I said, yes. Then another one and another one, and then I was a manager, and after 3 years, I opened like my organization. Mm-hmm. To be with the family until the end, mostly with dementic persons, mm-hmm. and very interesting.
You know, I'm here to talk to you about your son, about Yotam Haim, and we're going to speak about Yotam, and we're going to speak about the journey that you have been on, that he went on. The one that I think is still unfolding, incidentally, as I speak to you and as I've talked to you and as I've listened to you. But I just want to start with a couple of other points about who you are. One of the things I've learned about you is that music is very central to who you are as a family. Where did that start? Where did your attachment to music come from? Was it always there? Did it find its way into your life at a certain stage?
The music, it's from my husband. Mm-hmm. It's not for me.
Okay.
It's my husband is a musician. Mm-hmm. He's a drummer, and my both sons, Tuval, Yotam, and my daughter. She's not playing music, but the music is inside her. Myself, less in this area of the music. I can like sit in the house without music.
Right. Okay.
They know.
Okay.
They must have all the time, and also they are playing the music, the drums. They are both drummers.
Right.
So music came from my husband.
Okay.
And in his house, it always. He said that when he was very young in the kibbutz, his father bring the first system, the music system in the kibbutz, the first one. In the kibbutz, there was his family. For him, it was like the milk from the breast, but for me, less.
So that came from your husband's side, and that's infused in all three of your children.
Yes.
All three of them were very interested in that. But I've watched you listening to the playing of Yotam. And I feel it speaks to you. I watch as you listen. I look at your facial expressions as you listen. I think that you hear him almost through his drumming and through the music of the band. Am I correct there, or am I incorrect? There seems to be a connection there.
When I see Yotam now in the videos, I'm really excited when I see, because it's show me how strong he is when he's playing. He's very strong when he's like holding the sticks, and it's very strong playing. So it makes me really excited. I'm happy. I was happy to hear him, but it's not such a, for me, the metal, the heavy metal, it's, I think most of the people, for them to hear heavy metal is tough.
Yes.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's not like pleasant.
Yeah.
When Yotam, he was not sometimes, most of the time it was not pleasant, Yotam.
Right.
This was Yotam. Rough.
Right.
For the world and him was, the world for him was really rough, and he felt the world as rough thing.
So I want you to tell me about Yotam. I met you in the British Parliament. We were there with 2 hostage families, and actually no, we were there with one individual who'd lost his brother on October 7th in Kfar Aza. His brother had been murdered. We were there with another family whose son and nephew had been kidnapped, and you came and you spoke there at the British Parliament as well, extremely eloquently, about Yotam, who was also kidnapped on October 7th, 2023. We're going to come to his story, and as I said, but first, tell me, as a mother, as Iris, tell me about Yotam. Who was he? What was he like? You just said something very, very significant, which was that for him, Yotam and the world were almost at odds. It was a constant battle, maybe, or a constant fight. I'd like you to tell us about that, if you would. Yeah.
Yes, Yotam born from day one. He was born with a defect in the intestines, and we didn't know what he have. We just understood that he's suffering and he have pain. He was painful all the time. 1 year. For
the first year of his life.
First year of his life, he had a lot of pain. And when he was 8 months, he was already hospitalized with severe problem in the intestines. It's called megacolon. His colon was so big that it almost exploded.
Okay.
And he was in a life-threatening situation. At the age of 8 months already. And at 11 months he had the operation. We already knew what he had. But after that, for 10 years, he suffered from an extra or additional problem concerning this operation. And this problem affected him very, very heavily. He was suffer from a loss of confidence, very low confidence, low self-image, very low self-image, and anxiety and depression from very young. And as he was getting older, when he was 17, he had the break. He was he stopped to eat. He didn't eat, and he was very thin. He had anorexia.
He had anorexia at 17.
Yes, eating disorder. And after this, more and more, like, you know, when you start with psychiatric problems, another one, all the way. And sometimes he had to take pills, but he didn't want, so he took sometimes, and then he stopped to take. And in the army, he couldn't go to the army, which also was very hard for him, because all his friends in this age, 18, are going to the army, and he didn't get. He was in the army for 3 weeks, and he couldn't. And it's also affect him. And one thing. But all the way he was trying to continue. And as I'm saying, every day for him was a battle to continue to live or not to live.
Was it really so severe that each day this young man, who through no fault of his own has a terrible physical ailment, that then manifests itself afterwards in emotional challenges?
Yes.
Is that fair to describe it as emotional challenges?
Yes.
In emotional challenges that then manifest themselves again in physical challenges like the anorexia. And you're seeing this on a daily basis as his mother, that this young man has to battle to get through each waking day. Was it really like that? Or were there also periods where he was on a smoother path and things looked more positive and that they were going in the right way?
Yes, of course there was times that it was nice, and we thought, okay, maybe he's on the, like, in the way to go up, and but usually after it was better, come the he was crashing, and again, why to live? What's the purpose? Maybe it's better not to live. And this was the many times it was the dialogue between us, me and his father and him. A lot of question about life, to live or not to live. It was very open for him on the table. That not sure that it's worth it, the effort.
Did you have answers when your son turns to you and says, should I live, should I not live? Did you feel you had the answers, or was your job more to listen?
Yes, more to listen, to hug him, to tell him that we love him as he is, and that we believe in him, and believe that, okay, there's sometimes he is falling, but he will go up. Will raise himself, and he knows to do it, and most of the time to support, a lot of support in the way. I always looked for maybe a doctor or somebody that can help, or therapist, but he didn't want. He found, I think, he found his place in the metal music. The friend from the metal saw him very correct, very, very deeply. They could see him deep in his soul.
Yeah.
And not just like what he wanted. Sometimes, most of the time, he didn't show his difficulties outside, just to us. And in the band, they can see him as he is. And one of his difficulties was that he always, like with a mask on his face, that he's not him. When he is showing himself, people maybe is afraid a little bit from this.
Yes.
And he told me a lot about that I can never be myself. If I am myself, people don't want so much this heavy. And I told him, yes, not everybody can hold that.
But you've already taught me a lot, because when I was at the funeral for Yotam, There were CrossFit members who spoke about him. You spoke about him, you described a perfect little body. Do you remember? Those were your words to describe him. There was the band, there was the basketball. I've seen photographs, as many people have seen. This was a strong-looking young man, and yet he'd overcome anorexia and childhood illness in order to get there. So this is clearly someone who didn't give up, wasn't willing to give up, never gave up.
I will tell you another thing that I think most of the people don't know, that 3 years ago he diagnosed with autoimmune disease, which it's a chronic inflammation in the bones in the hip bones and the vertebrals, and it's a long name, ankylosing spondylitis.
Okay.
But he have also this, so he fighted with a lot of pain, physical pain all the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly someone who did not know how to give in my opinion, at least from the very little that you're telling me, and we'll get to that in a moment. Why was it so important to Yotam to try and serve in the IDF? Why? Because again, this came up in the funeral, that he fought in order to be allowed to serve. It then didn't meet with success, and then he took that as a terrible personal blow, right? He needed to be lifted up from that disappointment. But what was it about him that made him feel it was so central to his duty to go and serve, despite all the challenges?
First of all, I think in Israel, every person, most of the boys, they want to be in the army because they want to fight for Israel, and they want to be like everybody. They want to be something with meaning, and the army can give you this place to be meaningful, and it's natural. I think it's natural for everybody to be in the army. If you are in the army, you are normal. You are like everybody. And for Yotam, it was very important to be. He didn't want to be special. He wanted to be, but charig.
An exception, almost.
He didn't want to be. He wanted to be.
Didn't want to be different, almost, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was, he always tell me, why I'm not like him? Why he is succeeding and I'm not? And I said, he's him and you are you. But it was very important to him to be like everybody, and he was not like everybody.
Yeah. No, that's very clear. He was definitely his own person. So he. On October the 7th, Yotam is in Kfar Aza. He had a gig that night. He was supposed to be performing, I think, that night. I think you bought...
In the noon.
Right.
Noon time, 2 o'clock.
Okay, so in the afternoon. And I think you actually had bought a ticket for 130 shekels, is that right?
Yes.
Right? And you were going to go and see this concert. And there is this massacre, this raid launched by Hamas. Yotam is in touch with you during the early phases of this by text message. Did he call you at all, or was it all text messages?
We also talked.
Okay, so what happened on October the 7th, from your point of view, with Yotam? How did that begin? It
began at like 6:30, as everybody. I was there in Kibbutz Or HaNer. It's near Yotam. I was 10 minutes from him, but also in my shelter, in my safe house, and I also woke up from this terrible noise, Tzeva Adom, Tzeva Adom.
Yeah.
And the bombs.
Tzeva Adom, for the audience, is that's the name given to the
siren.
Alarm, the siren, when there are about 15 seconds of warning when a rocket's fired from Gaza toward Israel. That alarm is called a Tzeva Adom, a red alert.
Yes.
And it tells everyone to move to the shelters.
Yes, I slept in the shelter. This was my bedroom, and Yotam also is sleeping in the bedroom, the safe room. It's a little apartment. And immediately Yotam sent us a message. There is a group of me, him, and my husband. this group called Succeeding.
Okay. Okay.
And he told us, I don't know what about you, but I'm under a bomb attack. I don't know what to do because I need to go to perform today. I hope it will finish quickly. That was the first message. He sounded very calm. And after that, we continue about 1.5 hours to be in touch, just me, him, and my husband. And after that, my daughter and my son also understood, because my son lives in Jerusalem and my daughter lives in the north. So just at around 8, the bombs start to fall here also in Jerusalem. And all the family then came inside in the group and started to understand. But during most of the hours, he sounded to me very calm. Even that there were already terrorists in the kibbutz, I didn't imagine that it's something so severe, because he was very calm.
Yeah.
As we know, he had his problems, so the problems outside was not so much for him. I felt that he is very calm. I was not afraid. I trusted him, and we are all with him until around 10:15. Then he started to write us. He wrote us that he is afraid that the Hamas is inside his room, shooting lighting the gas, and he's afraid that they will burn the house. And he said, I don't have air, I cannot breathe. So I know Yotam, and I told him, maybe you are in you are anxious, you have attack of a
panic attack.
Panic attack. Yes, so let's do breathing. Let's breathe.
Yeah.
Let's breathe. Maybe you can calm yourself. And he continued to write. They are shooting on my door. Where is the army? And we write him, the army is in the way. We called the police, but nobody came. And we didn't know that this thing is on the kibbutz, and we didn't understood what is the size of this attack. But I can tell that until 10, I was trusting him that everything will be okay. And then 10:44, the connection was stopped and we didn't hear from him. But we saw afterwards the videos that he did. He prepared himself, he prepared sushi knives. He was preparing the sushi knives, and he said, I'm prepared for anything, I'm okay. He played the drum inside the safe house. When outside the terrorist was shooting, he was very cool. Very much.
And so what happened there at that time? The connection goes dead, and then what do you know that occurred? For example, I saw a photograph that your other son, Tuval, showed to British politicians when we had him in the UK, of Yotam basically surrounded by Hamas terrorists. What happened after the phone went silent? What
we know now, what we knew when Tuval had this video after 6 weeks.
Okay.
Or 5 weeks. We didn't know that. Just now we know that they took him to a place near the kibbutz. It was a solar farm. The video was taken from the camera in the solar farm. And they took him. They took him alive. He walked. They put him in the car, and they took him to Gaza. And that's all we knew. Just after a long time, after 3.5 weeks, we knew that he is alive. And after 2 weeks, we saw this video. And after a week or two after this video, we knew that he is okay there, that he is together with other people, that is eating, that they have a good mood, that is playing the drums on the floor, and his friend is singing, and they have a good morale, nice morale, they are happy, they're okay.
Mm-hmm. So there was a 3.5 week period between 10:40 when the phone goes dead and you knowing that he's alive? Is that what were you thinking during that 3.5 week period? Because I've again listened to you many times, and one of the things that I know about you is the trust you have in your intuition.
Yes.
Right? Not just your intuition, but also, if I can say it, and please correct me if you disagree, but also perhaps messages that you feel or symbols that you feel you receive about that you received about Yotam and about his well-being and about where he was, including on that fateful day on December the 15th, I think that you had an idea that something might have changed. So during that 3.5 week period where nothing is known, what did you within yourself know? What did you within yourself believe?
I believed all the time that he is okay, and I told myself and other people that asked me, how can you be so sure?
Yeah.
I said, until I don't hear any bad news, I don't think about the bad news. So I'm not concentrating on bad, just on good. Mm-hmm. And when I will concentrate about good, maybe the good will be. Mm-hmm. Like when you want to... מחשבה יוצרת מציאות.
Thoughts can create reality.
Yes.
Right.
And I really believed in him. Mm-hmm. Really believed that he's strong, and he had this fight every day with himself. And this is like, it will be easy for him.
So you had this feeling, because that's almost counterintuitive, right? So you had a feeling that because he's gone through this daily suffering,
yes,
זה יהיה קטן עליו, this will be nothing for him. He'll be able to get through this. And that was what you felt, what your husband felt, and what your family felt? Yes,
we all felt that. Mm-hmm. And when I talked about this loudly in the television, I told, if you are hearing me now, know that we believe that you can, it's קטן עליך, it's nothing for you, and we know this. And when I told this, I believed that he is getting this energy. Mm-hmm. And also we did a lot of, a few times we did musical evenings in our house, not here, we was in a Veilan. It was a big house and we had a lot of place there. And we brought friends of Yotam and Tuval, and they played music, and we always tell that the music is going, the energy of the music is coming to Yotam, and Yotam is feeling it. Mm-hmm. And I believed also that he is getting the medicines there, and that he's, like I told, he's playing the music, and the music is inside him, and it all was true. It all was true.
And so you're put in this situation where, as far as I know, you make two decisions. The first decision is that you decide not to actually follow the media, right? You don't follow the press. You don't look at the... Were you even turning on the television?
We didn't open the television. Until now, I don't see.
You still don't watch the television?
No, I don't see.
Why is that?
We first was afraid. We were afraid that we will see in the television something that we don't want to see. So as I said, I decided that I think just believe all the time that Yotam is good, and if there is something that can harm this emunah, this faith,
yeah.
I don't want to see it. I just take it off my point of view, and I really was keeping it so strong that nothing will come and destroy my belief now.
Yeah. And the second thing, though, that you decide is that you have to do something, because you didn't sit and isolate yourself and turn off the TV and just wait. You then start to talk about this and to appear on media and to travel anywhere and everywhere where you can speak about Yotam. What inspired that, Iris? Why did you take the decision that you're going to go forward and carry his story to public consciousness?
I think the second thing that I decided, it was to, as I said all the time, I decided, I choose to see my son in the light. In Hebrew it's ba'or velo babor. And I always said it's in the light and not in the
tunnels.
Yes, in Hebrew it's charuz. So I start to talk about that, but first of all, I made a video. It was not that I decided now I will do something. I just did something about, I said I make a little video that I talked to the mothers of the soldiers. It was after 2 weeks, 2 weeks after the war began, and the government decided that the soldiers will go inside Gaza by foot, not
ground,
just from the air. And this decision make me want to say that I think about the mothers of the soldiers, that so many mothers now, they are worried for their sons, and not just me, worry for my son that is kidnapped. And then I was the only one that put the spotlight on, not just on me, that I have my problem. The nation have a problem now, because many soldiers are going there, and the mothers, they are so worried, the same like me. So what about them? And then I told, we are together in that mission. I don't want that Israel will see just the kidnapped, because we are not the issue. And then people start to listen to this video and ask me to come to the television to speak about that you see the other people, not just yourself. And they like to hear also this, not just people shouting, bring them now, bring them now.
So just to clarify that, at this time, there's a movement of hostage family members who are rallying behind a slogan which is bring them home now.
Yes.
And do more and basically do. Some people are even implying that nothing's being done. And their demand and their slogan, without judging it, is bring them home now.
Yes.
And you decide that that's not sufficient, that actually there needs to be a message sent, as you've just said, to mothers, parents, basically soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. And also you give a message that says quite clearly, surprisingly, that you actually want to show that you have faith in Yotam, and you also have faith in the government, and you have faith in the military, and you have faith in our decision makers. Those are all incredible decisions on your part, because if I can speak honestly, and we were talking about this before we began the interview, there is a perception that everybody who's being held hostage is completely helpless and won't be able to manage. And I'm sure that exists. I'm sure there are those that exist. But you did not see Yotam in that light at all. Tell me about that. You had a completely different view of Yotam's abilities to deal with this challenge. I know you've spoken about it for a moment earlier, but you had a completely different view, and you also felt a duty to send a message of support to the mothers of Israeli soldiers. Why? On both of those counts, why did you do that? What propelled you to do that, Iris?
First of all, I felt it. I don't know exactly why. I concerned about the soldiers. When I always cry when I speak about the soldiers. I don't know why, but my husband said now she will start to cry because she's telling about the story. She's talking about the soldiers. I don't know why there is something about the soldiers that make me so sensitive, but I really felt that this is not just my little problem. This is not just, this is a very big thing. Now Israel is in a war of the existent war, and we must, I told it yesterday in the television, everybody but everybody is sacrificing something now, not just me. And I see now there's so many soldiers that are killed, and it was not, I couldn't hear that from one side there are soldiers that are being killed, and from the other side there is a group of people that their children is there, also my child, and they don't see the other side, they just see their side. We want them now. Don't do like you said. I couldn't understand this, but people are getting killed to bring the children. Why you shout that nobody is doing nothing? It's very sad for me. And that's what I told all the time. I cannot hear this, I cannot see this demonstration. I cannot hear this shouting that Israel is not doing nothing, while every day there are 10 soldiers, 5 soldiers being killed. I couldn't hear this.
And you actually took that message forward and you start to appear on the media, as you said, and at some point you take the specific message that you believe that the government is acting. Look, the fact of the matter is you're correct. So soldiers are not dying because nobody's doing anything. Soldiers are being killed because the government's doing everything that it possibly can.
And also they bring 110 hostages already.
Right, they bring 110 hostages by way of the exchange. And you decide to take this message more to the media. And how did you reconcile your desire to put your messages forward with what the group of family members wanted the messages to be? There was a moment where you decided, you know, I have to tell my truth, my messages, and not messages that are prescribed for me. Can you tell me about that?
From the beginning, I understood that there was this group of families that somebody is organizing them and telling them what to tell, what to say. And for me, it was not what I wanted to say, so I just said what I think. And I can tell that a few days before Yotam was killed, we started a new group, a group that want to tell good things, want to speak differently. From one side, all of us are concerning for our children, but we don't want to blame the government that they are not doing nothing. We want to support the government because we know that just the government can bring them and not the family organization.
Right.
So for me, this family organization was not my country. I told this. I have one country, Israel. The group of the families, it's not my country. It's okay. You can help people to go to abroad and talk there. You can take people and drive them and give them a driver or something, food or
assist with the logistics and everything. That's
but not. They cannot take the responsibility of decisions, of governmental decisions. So I couldn't understand why they are behaving like that. And that's why I continued, because this is me.
Yes.
I always in my life, I say what I think. I don't say ever things that I don't believe in. Never, never.
Right. Did it cause you challenges when you decided to speak your truth and speak what you believed? Did it cause you difficulties with other families, or were you not watching that? You were watching what you felt you needed to do?
Yeah, I felt that that's what I needed to do. and if somebody wants to speak differently, it's okay. No, there was not a problems.
And then the whole time that this is going on, obviously Yotam is in captivity. He's what's called a man of age, which means that he is in that bracket that is the least likely to be released by way of a hostage deal, whether the deals that have happened already or future deals. But you spoke in Australia, you spoke in Britain, that's where we met. You're speaking anywhere and everywhere. How were you received when you were talking about Yotam?
What the people thought or told me?
Yeah, and also what did you think of the work of speaking and talking about it?
After London, we've been together with my Miss Tuval, and we came there for 3 days, and I came and I thought it was so powerful and so meaningful and so effective. And that's where we need to go to talk, abroad, not in Israel, because in Israel, we are doing what we can. Israel is doing the best that they can. I always said, Israeli government, I'm sure that everybody is not resting and thinking about everything that they can do to bring them home. I'm sure about that. But there is a work to do in outside of Israel to bring the idea of what is that to be a mother of a kidnapped son. And in Australia and also in London, we met people that their family already murdered, and I think people listened to us with all their heart and saw us and told us that they will do the best that they can and really do things, and I believed, and I believe that they are doing. I believed, and I believe also now that the world understand, but we need more to explain what is the danger of Hamas and why it's not Israeli problem, it's an all the world problem, the terror. And Hamas is just one part of terror organizations. But it was really very, very good for me to go and explain and talk. And I think that people outside of Israel don't understand where we live and what is the situation. And they see just that Israel is just always killing and fighting. And when they see like a person like me and other friends that came, they see normal people.
Yeah.
That I have work. I'm not a soldier.
Right.
I just want to live a normal life. And my son was not a soldier. He didn't kill nobody. He's a musician. And when people, diplomats and other people see in their own eyes that it's a normal person, talk to them, then they can feel that it's more muhashi, more
authentic, more. I mean, I remember from Britain, we were there and you were speaking to policy staffers and you were speaking to elected officials as well. And it was very clear that if you'd been a general or a politician or an ambassador, I think people would have struggled to actually attach themselves to the story because of what you're describing, because it doesn't quite feel authentic. But the way that you were able to disarm them and to tell them that, I remember one of your lines from that, which was, I don't want to be in Britain under these circumstances. I want to come to Britain and enjoy myself and go on a vacation with the family and see the sights. But I have real faith in you, the British people, to do the right thing. So I just want everyone to understand, your view was very clear and it actually matches up perfectly. The government of Israel is doing everything it can. Other governments need to be encouraged to do more. Is that right?
Exactly.
So you're doing all of that. You're maintained by the idea that Yotam is alive. You're hearing information that he is alive.
Yes.
And that he's well, relatively speaking, he's well and he's safe. And then we come to this dreadful day, which was December the 15th, Friday, December the 15th. And there is Well, you tell me about that day, Iris, if you would.
It was a Friday, and every one of us did something else. My son, I don't remember what he did, but I had in the morning, I had an interview in the news, one of the channels in Israel, and I had to go at 6 o'clock to another interview in another channel. And my daughter and my husband went to the Arava to bring her stuff back, and at 6 o'clock I was in the television, and I had a phone call from the officer. She is with us since the beginning.
Let's just talk about that officer so everyone understands. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is another example of where a lot of people are saying nothing's being done, there's no support, but there is support. I'll leave you to describe whether it's adequate or not. But one example of the support is there is an officer assigned, an IDF officer assigned to your case, to Yotam's case. Is that right?
Not one.
Tell me.
In the first week, after 1 week, in the beginning it was very, very chaotic, all the story. But after a week, two officers came to us and told us what they know. Until then, it was like about the telephone. The telephone was founded, they located the telephone in Gaza, and this was the first thing. And from then, these two officers were with us all the time. They came just to visit, and there was another woman. She was from the civil part of the supporting, not just the army, also was a civil person.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And she was about all the rights, all the money that we need to get, the house, the car, the things. She was helping about that. And I think in that day, in Friday, I was in one of the channels there, channel 14, and I said thank you for everybody that is helping us, that it's also the Bituach Leumi, the national insurance, and these two soldiers and Talma from the civil. And I said, there are so many people that are helping, so how can you say nobody is doing nothing?
Right.
I told that in the morning.
Right.
And Chedva, the name of the officer, her name is Chedva, and we had a lot of phone calls. She phoned me every day. How are you? Just like this. And usually she's very happy, and she said, usually it was like, hi Motek, how are you? And this time it was 6 o'clock. I sat and waited for the interview in channel 12 with my dog. And there was a telephone call from Chedva, and she said, how are you? Where are you? Not how are you, where are you? And I said, I'm the television. And then she said, okay, go back home. Go back home. And I said, okay. I didn't ask what, and I said, okay. And I called Tuval, and he's living in Jerusalem. It's very near here. Tuval,
I'm reminding you, is Yotam's older brother.
Yes, my son, my older son. And I told him that Chedva called and she told us to come home. He was really afraid of that, and still I told him, we don't know what. Maybe they have good news. Because all, like you said, showed about good. He's okay, he's with people. And then I came here, and after a few minutes, there was a soldier, officer, but not Chedva, somebody else, coming inside. And after her, many people saw Chedva crying, and Mishtara, police officer, a social worker, doctor, all came together. So I understood, but I didn't understand why. How can it be? And then they told me that it's happened from Israeli forces. And it was very hard to hear it, of course. A terrible shock. We couldn't believe. We couldn't believe. And my family came and we told them, and we cried, and it was a terrible moment for us, I think for all Israel. All Israel in that day, it was in Shabbat, so Shabbat at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, half of Israel is not watching television. It's Shabbat. They close the television and close the phone also. So part of the people knew it Saturday evening, but there was many people that knew already at Friday evening, and people told me that they stopped dinner, they stopped eating, they just sat and cried with us, because everybody wanted that the end will be nice, happy end. But the end was different.
So they told you on that same day, Iris, that IDF soldiers had shot and killed Yotam and the two other hostages that were escaping.
Yes.
What was your feeling when they told you that?
Unbelievable. First of all, I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe that it's true. It was terrible, terrible. I cannot describe the feeling. Like the end came, the end of the life came.
Did you know? Did you feel that day?
No. Tuval, his boyfriend Tom, told us that he feel that in this 15th of December Yotam will come back. He had like a vision or something like that. But okay, he said, but afterwards he was so like ashamed of that he thought and said it. Maybe if he wouldn't say it, maybe it was not happening. No, I didn't have any clue about that. Not that I noticed. No.
And when you hear that this is, because this is a series of unthinkable realities that you have to confront. So the first one, of course, is that Yotam has been killed, is no longer alive. The second one is that IDF soldiers are the ones who have shot and killed Yotam. At what point did your thoughts turn to those IDF soldiers? Because you then start to show real concern for their well-being, and you again go into this mode of not just thinking about yourself, but thinking about these soldiers. At what point did that happen, and why? When did you realize that you had a need to do something for the sake of those soldiers?
First of all, immediately I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel anger.
Towards the soldiers?
Yes.
Did you feel anger towards Hamas?
No.
Tell me what I just want to learn from you.
I didn't feel anger at any point. I think I got rid of anger about many years ago. I started to do mindfulness meditations, and then I understood that I had anger, that I had an automatic anger, and I practice a lot about that, to not to go to the anger, that the anger will not
won't resolve anything.
Yes. So I didn't feel anger at any moment. I think maybe it's not so natural, no. But I didn't have anger at any point of the issue. So I told they said there that's why I'm looking for, because it was there
in this section of the room
when they told us, and they told him, okay, the army, so we cannot be angry because it's our soldiers, and I cannot be angry about Israeli soldiers. After the funeral, one day after the funeral, when we started the Shiv'ah, and the 7 days that we sit and wait and bring meeting people, one woman came and told me very, very like near me, and she was telling this very quietly, that she's the wife of the Magad, of the officer of these soldiers, and that they are in a terrible condition now. The soldiers? Yes. She told me in the Shiv'ah. She whispered to me. And I asked her to leave me her phone number of her husband, and I promised her that tomorrow morning I will send them the message that we are not angry. And that's what I did in the morning of Wednesday morning. And after a while, I understood that it's not just for these soldiers. I need to bring it for all the Israeli army, because I heard that one of the families, the fathers, he said that the soldiers murdered his son. I saw that, yes. And for me it was terrible. So I said, okay, if this voice is already sound, I must give the contra sound, the sound of the good, and then I asked for Chedva, and she gave it to the press, and after 5 minutes, I think all Israel heard that. I think it was less than 5 minutes, Iris. I mean, you've spoken to this voice recording, and you said there, without searching for a word, without reaching for a sentiment, you say who you are, you say who the message is for, namely these soldiers of the Golani Brigade who had fired upon the 3 hostages. You tell them you love them, you tell them you're hugging them from afar, you're telling them when they get a chance and an opportunity that you want them to come and visit you. Yes. And you also tell them, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. And that's because, given the complexity of the fighting there, a hesitation could result in them being killed. Yes. Right? But you say, don't hesitate, continue to fight, and that the fault is exclusively and only Hamas's fault. It's not their fault. Now, you didn't prepare a text, did you? No. You're just speaking from the heart when you say all of that to them. Yes, of course. And suddenly, the next thing that happens is they arrive here. Tell me about the visit you had from these soldiers. After this message, first of all, there were so many people that came here, all during the Wednesday. It was on Wednesday evening, so Wednesday evening and the after, and in Friday morning, somebody came and told me that the actual soldiers, they are here. And they sat downstairs near the view, very in front of the nice view outside. And it was nice people, like children. They are children. They are 19, 20. My daughter, she's 21. And I felt like that's my children. Really, I felt that. I hugged them. They hugged me, we cried. We sat there, and I told them about Yotam, about who he was, and that we know that he did a brave thing, but that he is not angry about them also. That he chose to come out, to go out, and he didn't know what will happen. He took the responsibility about his acting.
About his actions.
Actions.
Yeah.
And he's not blaming them. That's what I felt. And we are not blaming them. And it sounds very, very, very strange to say, maybe better that you killed him and not the Hamas.
There's just an incredible series of things to say. And they then said to you, I don't know if on that day or later, those soldiers said that they are now back in service, they're able to carry out their duties, but until they met with you, they were shut down and unable to perform as soldiers. Is that right?
Yes, they told me, and many others told me, soldiers from all Israel, sending me messages in the telephone. I'm serving here, I'm serving there. Until your message, we couldn't do anything. Now we are again with our head up in the north, in the south, all over Israel.
I want to go back to something and then just to ask you about your future and what you see for Israel, what you want for Israel. But I want to deal with this theme that you mentioned earlier, which is that you trusted Yotam. Because when I came to the funeral, you said at the funeral that Yotam came out of captivity like a partisan. That's how you described him. Now, tell me why you decided to describe him as that. And also, I'd like you to talk about something that you told me at the Shiva when I came here, which is that a lot of people were questioning these soldiers and saying, how could they have fired upon an Israeli boy with this mane of ginger hair? You know, he had this really very, very clear, very, very profound and obvious mane of ginger red hair. And there are facts about that I don't think the public knows, but you told me and I'd like you to talk about. But let's start with this issue of Yotam coming out of there as a partisan and making the decision that he will determine his future and even his end and not allow others to do so.
I have a really strong connection to the Holocaust, and Yotam also was very involved with this issue about Holocaust, and we used to say if we were in the Holocaust, how we would if we will survive or not.
Sorry, but just before you tell me more about that, what is your connection with the Holocaust?
The family connection is that my grandparents, they came here before the Holocaust, and all their families there died in murdered in Auschwitz, and my mother-in-law, she's a Holocaust survivor. So, and Israel, like the Israelis that born here, and our families are from East Europe, it's really an issue in our life. But we were really interested in that, and saw a lot of documentaries, and I'm reading many books about the Holocaust. And Yotam was also very interested in this, not something, just interested.
And we do ask ourselves that question as Jews, don't we, all the time? Would we have survived? Would we have fought back? Of course, there's never an answer for most of us, right? But it's something that does escort us as Jews here in Israel. I don't think the world really understands.
For us, it's always comparing to the Holocaust. And for me, this image of partisan, it's from that time, because many Jewish people stayed in the ghetto and waited that something will happen, that God will help. And they couldn't believe that they finish in the gas chambers in Auschwitz. or somewhere. But for me, Yotam didn't wait. He didn't sit and wait. He did something. So, as we say in Israel about the Holocaust survivors, he went like a tzon latevach, went like
lambs to the slaughter.
Yes.
About the Holocaust victims, that people say they went like lambs to the slaughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, Yotam did this. He opened his gates and he went out, and like a partisan, they were Jewish people that didn't that fight this tzon latevach. They didn't want to, but they could die. Nobody promised them that they will live. They just want to die free.
Yeah.
And he was free. He died free. He didn't let the Hamas kill him. The same like Mordechai Anilevich or other fighters, the greatest fighters in the Jewish nation.
Do you think Yotam had that idea in his mind, having been interested in the subject for all those years? Do you think that that was something that compelled him to do something? Because it wasn't just that he went out and then unfortunately was met with the bullets of the soldiers, but he also was part of the effort to write signs to let people know that there were hostages there, right? The people he left signs, he wrote signs that there were 3 hostages being held in captivity. There's now information they recorded a message that was captured by the IDF K9 on camera saying that there were hostages there. There's this ongoing theme of defiance with him. Do you think that was something that motivated him, just that ongoing question of what would I have done?
I don't know to tell you, but maybe, because I don't know.
And you found some degree of relief in the fact that if Yotam was going to be taken from the earth, that it would happen by way of the Israeli soldiers and not Hamas.
Yes, I think that's what Yotam preferred, and for me it also better. Yes, I think also Hamas wanted that we will be angry about the Israeli IDF, but they didn't get it from me,
right.
from our family.
Right.
It was also one of their trying to make us angry about each other and fighting each other in Israel. That's what they want to do to us. We will argue about the way to fight with Hamas, about the hostages. They see us fighting, and for them it's serving their purposes.
To this point, there have been countless reasons why you would become angry. The kidnapping, and then the killing, the hostage families, and then the government. And you've refused to do that. You're not only angry, but you refuse to allow anyone to make you angry about a particular group. Do you feel that that's a mission? Are you doing that out of a sense of mission? Is that just who you are? Is this something that you want others to follow the example of? Because I can tell you, I know you didn't ask for this, you don't want this, but you are a symbol of solidarity, you're a symbol of resilience, you're a symbol of generosity of spirit now in Israel. There's no one in Israel who doesn't know your name, and there are many people overseas who know your name because of that as well. Was that deliberate that you made that decision?
No.
So where did it come from, Iris? Because I think most people will struggle to understand it, actually. I think everyone will be inspired by it, but many people will be very, very hard-pressed to understand it. What was it? Was it just instinctive? How did it happen?
As I said before, I practice, I think, this thing that dying is something natural. And every death is normal, because we cannot expect just to die when we are 120. And also as a nurse, palliative nurse, I saw children dying, I saw young people dying from severe diseases, I saw people dying from CVA, cerebral vascular accidents, attack.
Right.
And we don't choose our death. We are not choosing our death. We don't know where we will die, when we will die. And I was near this 15 years now, 13 years. Every day, somebody is dying with me, like together. I'm helping him not to suffer. He can be 30, he can be 50, he can be 40, he can be 10, he can be 90, but nobody will know how he will die. So for me, it was, Yotam, it was so painful for me. It's very painful for me that my son is not here. But I don't think the death was because of this or this or this. This is what happened anyway. I don't know how to explain it, especially not in English, but it's natural for me. It's natural for me to act that way, to think that way, and to be able to understand that my son didn't kill for nothing.
Wasn't killed for
nothing. Was not killed for nothing. He was leaving a message to a will for us, that the world will be better, that the world will be not so cruel, that people will not be cruel to each other, and that people will be, they will have
sympathy, kindness.
for animals, especially cats, especially ginger cats. And about what you asked about the soldiers, they told me that Yotam, they didn't see actual people. They see just something moving, and he didn't have his ginger hair. The head was shaved.
Thank you for. Sorry if you could repeat that, because I think that's really important.
I asked them, you didn't see his hair? He was ginger. He said, no, we didn't see anything. We just see some movement, a movement. And also when they came to see him, the head was shaved. So he was not here ever.
I just have a couple of very last questions. The first one that I want to ask is, what would be your message to Israel right now? Because there's been a lot of infighting, a lot of people, without really knowing why, have been at one another's throats for a long time. This war has brought some sense of unity, but it's born out of tragedy, and everybody's concerned about whether that infighting will return after the war. What would be your message to Israel and dare I say to the global community?
I'm afraid that just like everybody, that the fighting will come back, and the demonstration and the hate will come back. And for me, first of all, we need to be united now, because there are soldiers that are fighting for Israel, for the nation. Our sons, not my son, but so many nice and good soldiers are there, and they need us. I think if somebody from Israel is hearing me, every father and mother that think that now it's the time to fight each other need to think about their sons that are fighting for them. And they cannot fight for us if we will not be together and we will hate each other. Then why to fight? So I think this is the message. If we don't have each other, we will not be here. We will go back to Europe and then the anti-Semitism will swallow us again, and it's a pity. I want to live here. I think Israel is such a good place to live. But it's our responsibility, each of us, that this place will be worth to stay here.
The second thing that I want to ask you is personal. If you don't want to answer it, don't answer it, and I'll move on. Mm-hmm. When I was at the Shiva, you said something that stayed with me from then until now. You said that Yotam had been struggling day to day, every day in his life, and that at some point he may have said to himself, you know what, maybe there's another place for me, a different place for me. Where do you think he is now? What do you think about Yotam?
Yotam now is the best place for him.
Tell me about that. Do you mind me asking you that question?
No, it's okay. It's really, again, I am telling all the time that I need a story. That I need a story for myself, the narrative that I'm telling myself. So 70 days, it was Yotam is well there, and now Yotam is well there. His body is not here, but his soul is very quiet now. I believe that he did his thing. His thing was to go out as a warrior, as a partisan, as a hero from this world, and that all the Jewish people will know Yotam Haim for many, 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 many years, that I can speak these things about united and unity and good, and that we need to be good to each other, and maybe this is his will to me, and that I need to do it for Israel now. That's what I think. That also give me a meaning to continue, and that Yotam didn't die just like that for nothing. I really feel it.
And my last question for you is, what's next for you? Are you managing to take care of yourself? Are you finding your place in all of this? Are you finding the right balance of publicity and privacy? What's next for Iris Haim?
Wow, it's so new for me. I think I will not go back to what I did before, just, taking care of few people. No. I know that after this time, I have a duty. So I'm sure that I will find a way. I'm sure that I know the way, because when I do things for others, I'm getting for myself. This is what's giving me the meaning for my life. That's what I'm doing all the time. I think everybody needs a meaning. האדם מחפש משמעות.
Yes, man's search for meaning.
Yes, this is why we live. That's why we want to continue. If I will not have a meaning, I will crash. And I have a lot of plans, personally plans and nationally plans maybe. And I know that there are so many people that want to be united in Israel and want this united way and want to help.
Yes.
With everything, they just need this voice to take them and that they will go after the good voice, not the hatery, and just waiting for that. So I'm for that. I'm there for that.
Well, I want to thank you. Thank you for giving your time. Thank you for being you. Thank you for finding that voice. When we left the British Parliament, you said to me, Benjamin,
we will meet again.
We'll meet again, and you were right. And please go from strength to strength and know that I'm here, our organizations, anyone and everyone is here to help you. We believe in you and we need you. And also you must look after yourself, as I said. But please go from strength to strength. And thank you for being that voice of unity, of solidarity, of, dare I say it, of love for Am Yisrael, for the people of Israel, the soldiers, the civilians, the citizens, the kidnapped, the free. I don't know quite how it happened, but I think for a moment such as this, you were probably chosen, Iris. So thank you so much for your time.
תודה רבה. Thank you.